Okay, hello everybody. How's it going? This is Azren, the language nerd here. Welcome to this video. This is another one of these Azren's journal videos where I give you an insight into my personal language learning journey and of course give you all sorts of language learning advice. It's nice to get back into these videos. If you used to follow these videos regularly, you may have noticed that I stopped making them for, Lord, perhaps a year, something like that. I was recording other types of videos instead. I was mostly focused on making my free self-guided course on learning another language. And so most of my video efforts were going into that course. In fact, as a fun fact, for those of you watching this on Facebook, for instance, or watching this on, well, yeah, Facebook, I still have not gotten around to posting all those videos on my Facebook because my initial intention was indeed to post all the videos for how to teach yourself another language. There's quite a few of them. My initial intention was to post them on Facebook, as well as YouTube, as well as Instagram, and get them everywhere. But right now, they're just on YouTube and, of course, on my website as well. But I digress. Now, I want to dive into today's topic right away, and I anticipate this to be a shorter video today, maybe 5, 7, okay, probably 7 to 10 minutes. And it's the connection between dedication and motivation. When you are learning another language, being dedicated is incredibly important, and having the motivation to learn the language and having the energy to learn is also quite important. But these two things, dedication and motivation, I find that for many language learners, they seem to have an opposite relationship. The more dedicated someone is, sometimes the motivation tends to drop, right? So the more you do of one, the more dedicated you are and the more diligent you are, the more time you put into it, in other words, the more seriously you take language learning. For many people, not everybody, but for many language learners, that tends to have a negative impact upon their motivation. And it's a difficult situation. It's a bit of a quandary because in order to make serious progress in a language, it helps to be way more dedicated. That definitely helps if you're more dedicated. There's no doubt about that. And it's hard because sometimes when you're more dedicated and you take it more seriously, you don't always feel like doing it. Instead, people want to have fun with it. They want it to be enjoyable. They want it to be a hobby that they look forward to. And while that's wonderful, sometime for many people, not everybody, but for many language learners, when they treat language learning as something that is entirely enjoyable, it often has a negative impact upon how much you actually progress. Here's a real life example. This is so common in the polyglot community when you look at people who want to learn multiple languages. What happens to a lot of these people is they dabble in 4, 5, 6 languages. They will do they will study some French, then some Spanish, then some Mandarin, then some Arabic, then some Japanese, then some Danish, then some this, then some that. And then they're bouncing around different languages. And essentially what's happening is that they choose a language based on what language they feel like studying. And the result of this is that they're bouncing around so much and they're focusing so much on how can I make this a fun process that sometimes they're lacking some of the discipline and diligence necessary to make true progress, to make real progress in even one of those languages. So ultimately, I think what's important for language learners is to find a balance between being dedicated, diligent, dedicated and diligent, and of course, and balancing it out with the motivation side, making sure you're not working so hard that you're burning yourself out, but also making sure that you are putting enough effort in to make meaningful progress in the language or languages that you are trying to learn. It's kind of like a juggling act, I think, right? To find the right balance for you. The last thing I would like to say today, and then we'll wrap this video up, Hello to the couple people that are watching this live. I see one on Facebook, one on YouTube. So hello to you. It's nice to see you guys live. Most of you will probably end up watching this recorded, which is fine, of course. Um, the last thing that I would like to talk about is also a topic about balance, and it's the topic of I suppose let's call it work-life balance. It's a topic everyone talks about nowadays. A lot of people talk about work-life balance, and I think my take on it is perhaps unique. I actually don't know. I don't watch a lot of content about work-life balance personally, but here's my personal take on work-life balance. I think work-life balance is something that's quite individual, and I think it's different for everybody. Everybody has a different way of approaching it, and I don't necessarily feel there's a best way to approach it. For example, I'm someone who works a lot more than most people. I work more than most people, but I want to in many ways. That's what I want to do. It's done by choice. But I also like to watch 2 or 3 hours of Netflix every day. So that's something I make sure there's time for. I exercise regularly, so there's time in my schedule for that. I need to sleep. That's a fun fact people don't know about me. I sleep 7 to 8 hours a night consistently. Consistently, I sleep that much. People sometimes they don't realize that about me. I sleep a lot. And I've found a work-life balance that works for me, and it's not necessarily the work-life balance that works for others, and what works for you might not work for your friend, what works for your friend might not work for you, what works for your mom might not work for your dad, what works for your dad may not work for your grandma or your grandpa. Everybody has a different type of work-life balance, and, that's something I was thinking a lot about today. I was thinking about work-life balance today, especially because at least for me, and maybe this is just a personal thing. I don't know. I don't know if you guys can relate to this or not. But for me personally, I find I find that for me, it's not just about work-life balance. It's not quite, I mean, how do I say this? For me, it's about on a day-to-day basis, me being very clear on what the day would need to look like in order for me to have a good day. I'll say that again. I wanna know every morning, I need to have clear in my mind, what does my day need to look like today in order for me to have a good day? And for me to feel good about what my day looked like at the end of the day. That's really important, at least for me. So yesterday, the day before, and the day before, I felt quite lethargic. I had low energy. I didn't feel quite as good as I typically would. And I realized last night, or was it last night? Yes. I realized last night that the reason for it is that I wasn't proud of all the choices I was making every day. I was doing things that at some level I knew they were not things I should be doing and they're not decisions I was necessarily proud of. And so I had to change that. So this morning, for example, I just made a list of, okay, what I need to do today in order for me to be happy about the day. So I had exercise on the list. I wanted to go for a run. I wanted to be well prepared for a class that sometimes I've been feeling like I wasn't well prepared for it and I wasn't doing my best work. I wanted to make sure I watched some TV today. I wanted to relax. I made a whole list of what I absolutely wanted to make sure I did today in order for the day to be a success. And so that's what I did, and I felt like I had a good day today because of it. So that could just be me. Maybe it's not other people, but I do find, and we can make this go full circle with language learning. I think when we talk about diligence, dedication, being motivated to learn other languages, I think that comes into the day as a whole. I think ask yourself every day, like, what would need to happen today? What would I need to do today in order for me to feel happy at the end of the day about how this day went? And for me to look myself in the mirror and go, yeah, that was a pretty good day. That was a pretty good day. Language learning probably plays a role in that. Relaxing probably plays a role in that. Spending time with family probably plays a role in that. Spending time with friends probably plays a role in that. There's many different things you probably feel like you would like to do in a day. And as long as you map those out and then you go about doing those, at least for me personally, I find it's quite useful. Anyway, let's wrap this video up here. I see some people on YouTube just hopped on live now, so you're coming on right at the tail end. So feel free to rewind from the beginning and watch it now. Everybody else, I'll see you later. Bye for now. Have a wonderful night.